Welcome to my talk, Out of the Dark into the Light. Thanks for having me. I will tell you Durchblicker's story of renewing its infrastructure from multi-cloud VM-based service to mainly Cloud Run-based services in the Google Cloud platform. A little bit about the company. Durchblicker is Austria's independent and market-leading online price comparison website. We have roughly over 80 employees. We have 28 price comparisons and were founded in 2010 by Michael Doberer and Reinhold Baudisch and were sold to the NetRisk Group earlier this year. NetRisk operates leading internet portals for online comparisons in the CEE. A little bit about me. I'm a software developer since the end of the 90s of the last century, millennium. I'm working for Durchblicker since 2019 as a senior software engineer. I started in backend, but nowadays I'm mainly focused in the infrastructure operations on-call area. What is this talk about? Short version, why and how we migrated our infrastructure into the GCP. With a little disclaimer, it's a retrospective view, nobody should be blamed of my former colleagues. As I said, Durchblicker was founded in 2010. These were the ancient and dark times where we had bare metal servers, virtual machines, and jQuery. The first version of Git was released in 2005. In 2013, Docker was released. In 2014, Kubernetes. Also, AWS Lambda and its counterpart, Google Cloud Functions, were released mid of the decade, followed by AWS Fargate and Google Cloud Run in 2019. And lastly, Google Kubernetes Autopilot in February 21. Durchblicker had a startup feeling and also has now, with a lot of trial and errors of ideas. But as we saw in 2020, there's also a graveyard of ideas, mainly in our code base and in our infrastructure. Around early 21, we had around 120 Git repositories on our self-hosted GitLab server, 40 of them not in use anymore. Here you can see a graphical commit history. On the y-axis you see the repositories, and on the x-axis the commits into these repositories from 2010 until 21. And our infrastructure, the second graveyard. We had around 60 virtual machines and bare metal servers, mainly in the Google Cloud Compute Engine, DigitalOcean and Hetzner. Our DNS was running at AWS. We had a few S3 buckets with lots of terabytes in it. The MySQL databases were hosted in GCP and locally on the virtual machines. And we had around 20 core microservices. And releasing was a big fear by a few developers. So, now the dark part. We identified major pain points. This list is not exhaustive. We built too much by ourselves instead of using product as a service or software as a service. Our secret management is not handled optimally. Our build processes on Jenkins are not optimally. Logging alerting is not good. Graylog, Elastic Grafana is all run by us, and we have too much noise due to a large number of non-errors. It was really hard to find errors. We need constant manpower to maintain security patches, update of the underlying operating system, and so on and so on. New test systems were slowly to set up. We lost trust in our Ansible repo, a single source of truth regarding the state of our servers. There were manual changes made directly on the virtual machines, and it was forgotten to make these changes also in Ansible, and yeah, it was kind of chaos. Certificate management wasn't optimal. We had multi-cloud issues due to network traffic no living DevOps culture, and security issues. So we took a few assumptions. We have to fully migrate all our core services into one cloud. We want to make best practice decisions, so we need the help of consultants. We have to containerize our services, and we want no big bang. We have to migrate the services one by another, and we will take a rather conservative approach. We migrate the services as they are, so we can detect new bugs more easily because we know the old one. Central secret management is a must-have, and also infrastructure as code is a must-have. No more manual changes or mouse clicks in some kind of GUI. We wanted to have 3 stages: a development stage, a staging stage, and a production stage. We wanted really good logging and error reporting, and we wanted to replace Jenkins by GitLab. So we were on the way to a decision. We made a proof of concept migration of one of our services into AWS and into GCP. AWS with the help of a consultant, and into GCP with the help of Google. The outcomes were CDKs from AWS is not so optimal for us versus Terraform, and we had no clear winner at this time. So in June 21, we made more or less a gut decision for GCP. Main points were the imperative versus declarative definition of the infrastructure. GCP already worked well for us. In the old world, we had the load balance on the front servers there, and also the databases, so we knew GCP is stable. And GCP has better support for Kubernetes if we needed it. We started to search for consultants and found Haptik, a firm located also in Vienna. And in July 21, we had a kick-off workshop with Haptik and Google in our office, and the journey began. We made a migration roadmap, a complete underestimation. We thought we would have a learning phase of around 1 month, then migrate 1 or 2 services per week into Cloud Run, and we will be done until October 21. Here you can see the original plan, the original spreadsheet. Yeah, our first learnings. We migrated tariffs. That's our tariff calculation engine. It's one of our older services, which is about 11 years old. It has only a few dependencies and a lot of traffic, so we can see failures quickly. In August 21, we were done with containerization and the Terraform stuff. The Cloud Run service was running for a few hours. Everything looked fine, but then, woo. We had the first issue. Nearly all of our services are connected to RabbitMQ to handle asynchronous requests. And Cloud Run has a feature which is called CPU throttling. When the request ends, the CPU is throttled down until the next request comes in. But if it's consuming any jobs from RabbitMQ, they will not be handled anymore. This was really a big issue for us. So we called Haptik. We have a problem. We had 2 solutions. We could replace RabbitMQ by PubSub. It's a GCP product, and use push via HTTP. But we had to rewrite all of our services if we had gone this way. Or we could use GKE instead of Cloud Run and use RabbitMQ. So we migrated tariffs from Google Cloud Run into Kubernetes with Autopilot and made a test again. Everything looked fine until we started load tests. And we saw scale up is pretty too slow because Autopilot is not the fastest one in this area. And we didn't want to run a Kubernetes cluster by hand. We wanted to use managed services wherever possible. So what to do? Some kind of miracle would be nice. And the miracle happened, as often in this project. In September 21, Google announced a feature called CPU Always On for Cloud Run. You can set a flag and the CPU will always be on. Also when there is no request coming in. That was the feature we were looking for. So we migrated 3 services from Autopilot back to Cloud Run. One service was already running in Cloud Run, and we gained speed in the migration project. By the end of 21, we had used Terraform to organize the org and the projects for the stages in GCP, set up IAM, set up org policies, set up billing alerts, set up alerting in Atlassian Opsgenie, migrated more than the half of our production services, migrated a few MySQL databases, introduced a few cloud functions. We were using cloud storage, the cloud scheduler. We were using the secret manager. We were using Cloud Armor to limit access to some resources. We were using Cloud Debug and Cloud Profiler. And we still had fun to work on the project. The next adventure started in January 22, migrating of the front end. Durchblicker's front end is consisting of 11 Git repositories, which contains the old style, the legacy website, the new Next.js React-based website, configuration data, a service for publication and removal of PDF documents in downloads, more than 100,000 JSONs and binaries. The builds and deployments were run by Jenkins, which glued together the repos, built the artifacts, rsynced, pushed it to the 4 servers. It is, as a colleague of mine said, it is a monster. And we started to migrate it. We had to face a few problems. They are listed here. And it took half a year. The 1st of June 22, we run in since the 1st of June 22, we run in production with a website, and we are still alive. And here we are now. Screenshot from tomorrow. All services managed by Google, running in Cloud Run. Everything works fine. We have reached many of our goals, but there's still a lot to do. There were a few cons. The Google support is kind of adventurous. It's really not the nicest thing. AWS seems to have more modern features than GCP. GCP is a little bit behind AWS. GCP has also a few limitations which are not understandable. And the Google Cloud Console app on smartphones is only weird. You can't believe it's really from Google. The pros were, Terraform is pretty cool, working with Haptic is great, GCP is stable, Cloud Run is a real cool product, I'm curious what the future will bring, and my fellow colleagues. We were a gang of 4, plus 2 in the meantime. And if you're interested, we are hiring. Thanks for having me.